So I was thinking about the Metta Sutta, and just going through that. There's quite a lot in it actually, but so we can stop wherever feels right. So I'll read it verse by verse. So it begins with, what should be done by one skillful in good, so as to gain the state of peace? It's kind of a question, really.
Well, what we spoke before. Only the person with the right view knows good is good and bad is bad. Knows kusala is kusala and akusala is akusala. Which means the whole sutta applies to somebody with the right view. What should be done once you know kusala is kusala and akusala is akusala?
One who is skillful in good?
Yeah. One who knows good is good, bad is bad. What should he do to have his mind in a peaceful state?
Right. It says, let him be able, upright and straightforward. Isn't he already like that, one would think?
Well, there's always room for improvement. So the Bana is upright and straightforward from Putujana's point of view, but not from an Arahant's point of view.
Right. It says, he's easy to speak to, gentle and not proud. And this gentle got me thinking, it's not, he's not sensitive. You know.
No, that's not what gentle is. Like, you're non-gentle when you have intentions of harm. If you are unable to to act out of intentions of harm, you're gentle. That doesn't mean you will necessarily come across as kind and gentle, because people don't have criteria for what truly kind and gentle is.
Or proud.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not proud.
You cannot be rooted in your vanity and your conceit.
He's contented. Easy to support.
Easily satisfied, yeah.
With few tasks and living very lightly. His faculties are serene, prudent and modest. This is interesting. Unswayed by the emotions of the clans. So unswayed by the emotions of others.
Of others, yeah. Of other authorities. Of other traditions, of other establishments. When you say, the rules of a clan means if you belong to it, you must obey by that. So it's like belonging to a greater identity, which is usually everybody belongs to some greater identity to some extent. Be it culture, religion, education or something makes you belong to that group identity. But that actually requires a wrong view. It's rooted in the wrong view, that kind of belonging. It's rooted in you not being transparent in regard to your own individuality. So the one who has the right view, who has developed his mind, he cannot then ignore the fact that he always remains enclosed within himself. So then if he chooses to follow what clan says you should do, he'll only do so because he knows good is good and bad is bad, not because the clan said so.
Right.
But if you don't know for yourself, you will be going by the words of others, by the authority of others, by the majority of others. Exactly. That's another way of, oh, well, look, I don't understand this, I don't understand that, but this is more numerous. There's more people saying this than that. So I'll just go with the majority on this one. Means either way you don't understand for yourself. So even, say, if that majority were right, you are in the wrong. Because you're not understanding for yourself, you're going just by the majority of it.
Yeah. You're being swayed by... You got no grounding yourself.
No grounding, yeah. So it's just circumstantial. Circumstantially occurred that in this instance majority was right, but you as a rule of thumb go with the majority out of your own weakness and basically lack of understanding. That's why literally like for Sotapanna, when he develops the right view, when he knows kusala is kusala, kusala is kusala, as the sutta say, even if the whole world would say the Buddha was wrong or that's wrong, if he knows that is right, he would go with what he knows is right. Now, from Puthujana's point of view, that sounds like an extremely arrogant and proud position. Who do you think you are? You know better than the entire world. But it's factually, he knows better than the entire world. That's what Sotapanna is.
But he doesn't just think he knows better than the entire world in every single case or something.
His thoughts are not rooted in I am better than the entire world, I'm worse or I'm equal. His thoughts are rooted in recognizing kusala is akusala, kusala is kusala, akusala is akusala. So wholesome is wholesome, unwholesome is unwholesome. So if the whole world says this is unwholesome, but he knows that to be wholesome, he will not go with the entire world. If the whole world says yes, this is wholesome, and he knows that it's wholesome, he'll go with it because it's wholesome, not because the entire world said so. So that's how he will not be swayed by what clans say to do, because he has the internal criteria. And you will never develop that internal criteria if you never basically look beyond and make effort to understand things for yourself on that individual basis, but instead always seek shelter in the safety of numbers, crowd, tradition, authority, which is the whole Kalama Sutta. Do not go by the majority for its own sake, by the tradition. Find out for yourself. And many people kind of think they understand that. Oh yes, of course, find out for myself, experience for myself.
Personal truth.
Yet when it comes to drilling their views down, it's going to be, well, most people say this. That's why I'm right, because I just subscribe to whatever else people say. Yeah, but do you understand that as right because it's right? Or do you just basically seek the safety in the group? And if you do, you'll never develop the right view.
Or have a peaceful mind.
Well, you will not have a peaceful mind without the right view.
Yeah.
There is no peace without understanding. There is no understanding without a right view. There is safety in the numbers, by the way. It's not that the safety you get from the group or majority or belonging to a tradition or a group identity. It's not that it's not safe. It's not that it's not real. It is, but it's flawed. So it's not a true safety. It's not the safety that you seek. So it's only something that's sort of closest to safety that you know. But if you look at it properly, investigate it, you realize actually it's not a safety. It's safety of ignorance. Doesn't matter what the size of the group is. The fact is, I don't know for myself that what they say is right. Thus, it's on the level of my choosing to believe that they are right because it makes me feel comfortable.
Even if they happen to be wise.
It's all secondary. People, it's all secondary. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you can find the right group, the group of arahants.
Yeah.
But if you seek the shelter of this, if you seek the safety, basically, and follow what they say just so you'll be safe, not because you understood it, you won't be safe. So you can live with the Buddha himself, and you'll still be a Puthujana. Because you're not allowing it basically to penetrate on the levels it should, which is on that individual basis of recognition of fundamental non-safety, fundamental exposure of existence, fundamental impermanence, fear, and all of that. And that's always why people go with that. Even if you know, often you saw that, like, living in the various monasteries and stuff, people would sometimes follow or come having been following certain teachings that they know themselves were not adequate, because they've been doing for 20 years and still haven't overcome things that even they made them start practicing, but they couldn't give it up because there is nothing else left, which means they would have to then accept their individual responsibility for that exposure and not knowing. So although they know the teachings they've been following were not adequate, they're still too afraid to admit that to themselves. So that's all, like, it didn't work for me, but have you understood it or no? Have you made the effort to understand? So to what extent did you understand? You must have some understanding if you recognize that it doesn't work for you. What is that understanding? Why it doesn't work for you? Is it because it's inadequate? So already have a sense of, this is inadequate. but you're still afraid to take responsibility for that own recognition, and instead, I'll just pretend and ignore the inadequacy so I can still partake in the safety of numbers, safety of tradition, safety of an established norm, and so on.
Right.
Safety of the meditation method.
Yeah, the comfort zone.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing. I know how to do this.
I kind of at the back of my mind know that it hasn't resulted in things I was hoping it would. It doesn't result in things that the Sutta say it should result. But yes, it's less uncomfortable than if I go against it and do away with it. Feel less exposed if you pretend there is no problem.
So unswayed by the emotions of the clans, and let him never do the slightest thing that other wise men might hold blameable. So
the wise men. So the other men with right view would hold blameable.
Yeah.
So what is blameable? A wrong view is the most blameworthy thing.
Yeah.
So let him not entertain wrong view in any extent in regard to anything, even for a second. Because that's the most blameworthy thing.
But other...
Killing, stealing, cheating, lying, all wise men agree that is unwholesome. And you know for yourself it's unwholesome. Now you might not necessarily at that stage, you might not necessarily see sensuality as directly unwholesome, but by the extension of the principles you have understood, by the extension of that wisdom, you can safely assume that it's most likely unwholesome, and then act accordingly, and restrain yourself, and then you will come to realize that it wasn't wholesome.
But also he's not swayed by the emotions of the clan, but he still listens to the...
Oh yeah, exactly, because he's not conceited.
Yeah.
He does not dismiss the clans because he is self-centered and proud. He's not swayed by their emotions, doesn't mean he has no perspective on their emotion. Which equally then means he will also have perspective on that which is factual wisdom. So even if somebody does not belong to the clan he approves of, or he was born with, or brought up with, he would recognize when somebody says something that is correct. That is along the principle of kusala is kusala, akusala is akusala.
Right.
So he would recognize wisdom in others. But that's what I mean. From a point of view of a Putujana without a right view, that sounds like the most conceited thing. All the teachers say this. All the Buddhist traditions say this. And who do you think you are saying the opposite? Now, sure, it is possible that one who is saying the opposite might be doing simply because he's so conceited. So he just wants to go against everybody else. But then you listen what else that person has to say. Is it just a mad rant? Or are they making sense in other regards as well? And then you realize, oh well, they are. Which means, even if the whole world says one thing, there is something to this, so maybe it's worth investigating. It's certainly not worth dismissing it just because majority does not agree with it. I mean, fundamentally, there is only one Buddha in the world when it arises. There are no two Buddhas. It's impossible to be at the same time.
Right.
Which means the Buddha is as alone as he gets. He is the first soul being that's against the grain of the entire universe, not just this world. And yeah, when that man met him straight after his enlightenment, and said, well, you look so calm, whose teaching did you follow? Because this man assumed you must follow someone, some tradition, some observance, some tradition. And the Buddha factually said, I follow no one's teaching. I'm my own guide. I'm the supreme leader of men. Pure facts. But how did this man take it? All right, so be it. Good for you. And walked off. He did not believe him, and he thought, look at this conceited fool. So that's what I mean. That should not be your criteria. Yeah, he might have been factually, say, a person who declares that might be factually conceited, or just sort of being argumentative, or just going against whatever, like steering things up. But then you listen what else they have to say. And then you'll see, oh, wait, there is something more to this. It's not that they're just negating, they're providing reasons for the negating. They're providing rational explanations that tie in with other things that, could be interpreted that way. And if that's the case, then you should investigate it further and then use that as a criterion, not because, 100 people say one thing and one person says the other. Thus, he's wrong. And sometimes people even know that person in minority is not wrong, but they still try to argue a point that you should still go with the majority and not disturb the established order of majority. That is true only when non-disturbing of the established order of the clans, of the tradition, would not go against the message you have. So if you can go with the order without compromising the message that you have, which is against what the order's message is, then it's fine, you can go with the order. But if going with the order means compromising the message that you have that is correct, that the whole order disagrees with, then you shouldn't go with the order. You should stick with the message, because, that's the only thing that matters. Right view or wrong view. The wrong view, as the Buddha said, is the most blameworthy thing. More blameworthy than killing, stealing, cheating, and everything else. It's the utmost single blameworthy thing in the entire universe, in the entire samsara. Thinking to know that which you don't. Holding on to a view without questioning it, without understanding it.
Becomes a bit different, this sutta. Starts to talk about what this person should be thinking in terms of that metta, peaceful mind. He said, let him think in safety and in happiness may creatures all be of a happy mind. Whatever breathing beings there may be, no matter what they are, may creatures all be of a happy mind. Let no one work for another's undoing, or even slight him at all anywhere. And never let them wish each other ill, and so on. So there's this is what he should be thinking.
So on the level of your thoughts, do not entertain even slightest, like, negative animosity, ill will, and so on. Even, like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what happens to you. Doesn't matter on account of what things happen to you. Doesn't matter from whom, from what type of being. Don't have limited mind towards them.
But because most people would take this and say, okay, this is the mantra that I must now say a million times. I'll say it a million times. In safety and bliss, my creatures not be. And on and on and on and on and on and on. And you do that.
Well, you ask yourself, does repeating a mantra maintain the understanding of the point of that mantra? Or is it actually quite the opposite? Focusing on repeating the mantra means ignoring the fact that it needs to be understood.
Because if you had to, I remember doing a similar thing a while longer, repeating certain phrases. May my mother be well, may my sister this, may I be this, that, and you generate. It's quite a pleasant thought, and you have pleasant feelings, and you feel good. You just feel.
Yeah. But that's not what it says there. It says you should cultivate that mind, the state of mind that has no animosity towards anything breathing of any kind. And you don't cultivate state of mind by repeating the random words. Because if that would be the case, the Buddha would have said so. Just chant this and you'll be purified. Yet, whenever he talked about it in a dismissive manner of the other Brahmanic traditions they were doing. And he would criticize them for chanting Vedas without understanding what they're chanting. So they're just parroting basically the verses because they developed the belief that the verses in themselves carry magic of purification. And then he said that even the original Brahmins that sort of compiled those Vedas and the wisdom in them, they actually understood them. That's why they were worthy men. Brahmins of the old day, they understood the verses, they understood the meaning, they were not just chanting them. So if you chant for the sake of remembering it, for the sake of then reflecting on it to understand it, of course. But if you chant because you believe that chanting purifies you and maintains your mind of non-ill will, that's an utterly, completely wrong view.
So like, these people say this, I will say that as well.
Yeah.
And we're...
Yeah. And that's
I'm
how
safe.
I will partake in that.
Yeah, I'm safe.
Yeah.
I'm in it.
So I will just go by the hearsay, tradition and repeating words of others. By mere repeating words of others, I will purify myself. That's basically practically what that view is. For those who believe that just chanting will purify.
But let him think about this.
Let him reflect upon it.
Let him reflect.
Let him develop
such a
the
way.
state of mind that is limitless, that includes all these things you can have animosity towards. So you develop a state of mind free from animosity. Thus all the things within that you could hate, you cannot hate. Because hate is rooted in the state of mind, not in things that you hate.
So you can also ask, you think about it. In safety and in happiness may creatures all be...
Think about those verses about guidelines for your contemplation.
Yeah. Why do I...
Okay, so the Buddha said nothing that breeds... Why is that?
Yeah.
Or if you can't figure out why, take the Buddha's word and trust, then figure out how to achieve that. So how will I have one state of mind that will not hate this wide array of diverse beings and objects? Is that achievable by chasing down the diversity of the objects? Or is it achievable by maintaining the uniformity of one non-hateful mind? Which is more likely?
Is it about cultivating the pleasure of a particular thought and the avoidance of the displeasure of not
another particular thought?
Another thought.
Yeah.
Or is it cultivating a thought
that is above either pleasure or displeasure?
Yeah, and the answer's obvious, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it continues, and just as a mother with her life protects her only child, so let him then for every living thing protect his boundless mind.
Yeah.
So
we spoke about it before.
Good translation.
Yeah, it's quite obvious. You have contemporary translations that skew that, and they basically imply that as the mother protects her child, you protect all these living beings.
It doesn't say, so let him protect every living being.
Like his own child. Yeah. It says let him protect his one mind, like the mother protects one child, one son, literally. So your only son, that's your mind. Your mind is your only child. So you will not forget about cultivation, protection and maintenance of that child. Because if you do, it could die. And it could result in your own death. So if you protect your mind as your only child, you will automatically protect all living beings. Because when there is action of non-protection of all living beings, it's not rooted in those beings or non-those beings, it's rooted in your mind of ill will. So if you protect your mind from ill will,
it's impossible.
No acts of ill will can be exercised towards anything in the world. So by proxy then, you protect the entire world. And that's how the Buddha explained Arahant, by practicing for his own benefit, practices for the benefit of the whole universe.
Yeah, but people want to see.
Well, no, most people, that internal transparent dimension is not transparent. It's they don't see it. So they measure goodness or non-goodness by the level of engagement with others and with the world. So from that point of view, of an ignorant Putujanas view, Arahant is the most selfish person in the world.
Swayed by the emotions.
Yeah, swayed by the emotions of others, exactly.
Using the
measure of emotions for whether things are good or bad. This makes us feel good, thus it's good. And you see, ironically then, Many people approach the Dhamma practice rooted in that. Oh, I'll practice freedom from my dependence on feelings by following what makes me feel good. It's a contradiction in terms. That's what we said that in one of the previous talks. I don't remember what order we shared them, but if you don't need to practice kindness and non-ill will towards the world or towards anyone in particular. Just practice it towards whatever present feeling is enduring in your experience.
Yeah, and you've covered.
And you cover the entire world. Anything that breathes, you cannot hate, because you stop resisting the discomfortable feeling that's present and enduring.
And if you truly want to help,
that's the only way you can help. It is. Yeah. You can have a desire to help, but you can choose to ignore understanding what is truly helpful on account of that desire, or you can choose to not ignore and make the effort to understand what is truly helpful. So what is truly helpful is the mind of non-ill will.
And if you can do that, then you can potentially teach others to do that.
Of course. Yeah.
Which protects them.
Yeah.
Because you can build people houses, give them food.
That's all mundane pertaining to the world.
It never ends. It's not a.
You can do that if that's your goal, but you can't expect to do that and practice Dhamma at the same time, because those goals are mutually exclusive. If you can help others and not compromise the lifestyle that's dedicated to practicing the Dhamma that you understood, that's fine, of course. Somebody's drowning, you pull them out. And it's like, oh, well, I will teach them Dhamma in these 3 seconds before they drown. But if you dedicate your life to saving people from drowning in those particular instances, and on account of that neglect your own mind, your own child of non-ill will, well, that doesn't help anyone. The help is very limited, very fleeting.
Yeah.
Not substantial.
So above, below, and all around, untroubled with no enemy, and while he stands, walks, sits, or lies down, free from drowsiness, let him resolve upon this mindfulness.
Yeah.
This is the peaceful life here.
You cannot resolve upon things that are not clear. Like there's the instances in the suttas of a person who becomes arahant by resolving upon wisdom. So he resolves upon that which he gained insight with wisdom.
Right.
So in order to resolve upon something, you need to know what that is. You need to be clear about it. You need to be familiar with it. You need to have made the effort to remove any opaqueness, any ambiguity in regard to the meaning and nature of it.
He's keeping it.
Once it's sufficiently clear, that's when that resolve can occur, and that's when you can maintain that resolve, and that's why it can result in arahantship.
It says free from drowsiness, but free from
sloth, free from lack of clarity, free from laziness in regard to maintaining the clarity.
Not somehow energetic, like magical energy, or free from. He's not tired. He's got this abundant energy flowing through his body. Of love.
No, it's not. No, it refers to the clarity of the meaning.
Yeah.
Which is why you can resolve upon it with mindfulness.
Not this energy of love.
You can be tired, but tiredness does not induce losing the sight of the right context. Does not induce forgetting about your only child.
Yeah.
You're tired, but you're still clear about what's important.
Yeah.
You're still clear about what you must protect. You still protect it. And then when you're not tired, you protect it even more. You cultivate it.
The last verse is when he's not holding to any views. He's virtuous and has perfected seeing, and purges greed for sensual desires. He surely.
But not holding to wrong views.
Yeah, not holding to wrong views. Virtuous, perfect in knowledge and seeing. free from sensual desires, he no longer gets born again.
Oh, that's when the arahant he goes beyond the views. That's what it means.
Right.
So you need the right view in order to overcome the wrong views. But for an arahant, basically he overcomes even the right view. That sutta has the Noble Eightfold Path, and for an arahant it's like a tenfold path, whereby he overcomes even that dependence on the view, the right view, the right criteria. He even extinguishes that.
So he resolves upon clarity
with the right view.
Yeah.
You maintain it, you cultivate it until it ripens, and then even that falls off.
Yeah.
It's like once you use the raft that you built, you cross the shore, and then you leave the raft.
Yeah.
And when do you leave the raft? Well, you know when you're safe on the other side of the shore. It's like halfway through paddling. Oh, do I abandon raft now? Or you cannot doubt it, because it's not up to you anymore.
Yeah. They say that you abandon this raft when you get to the other shore. That's I'll abandon now.
Right. Yeah.
And be on the
I'll
other shore.
preemptively abandon it because you shouldn't hold on to anything.
Yeah.
No, then that's often misunderstood. I know in the same, like the contemporary chanting of that, like not hold to any views, or they even now, I think, since in some translation, don't hold to fixed views. It's like, well, that's a fixed view. I shall not hold to fixed views is your fixed view. And there is no way out of that, except finding the right type of fixed view, which is the fixed view of Sotapanna, that he developed through understanding the Buddha's teaching. Then using that fixed view to overcome all the kind of underlying tendencies and kilesas and so on, then that fixed view will wither away as well. And that's when you're an arahant. But people think, oh, if I abstain from declaring my view, I somehow skate between the views, and I will be free from the views by not holding on to views, which is the view that I hold. So that last verse refers to the arahantship. So the only one truly who can say, I don't hold to any views anymore, is the one whose right view has withered away, extinguished itself through the right effort. So he went beyond the views.
Yeah, that's the full development of...
Yeah, it's not a choice.
Metta.
It's not Sotapanna makes a choice, I will not hold to my right view, and he becomes an arahant. It's a result of the right practice. That the Buddha outlines there, and then says, if you practice like that, you will not anymore be attached to any view, even the right view. You will be an arahant then. But it's the right view that brought him there. It's the raft that took him to the other shore.